believe that Matt has
To New South Wales politics, here's the New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet.
To make a strong contribution in this role. Matt also follows in a long line of treasurers who've served as Deputy Leader, and it was my view that the unanimous decision today was certainly based on his strength of financial and economic management that he's continued to play in this government. We saw last month, I believe, one of the best budgets ever handed down in this state. As someone who's handed down 5 before him, and working very closely with him in relation to this budget, not only does it continue that strong financial management, which has turned around the fate of New South Wales, the strong economic management, which has resulted in the lowest unemployment rate in our state's history at 3.3%. It was a budget that continued that strong infrastructure investment, over $110 billion in public infrastructure in this year's budget under the stewardship and leadership of Matt Kean. 130 new and upgraded hospitals, 160 new and upgraded schools. The continuation of the strong public transport investment, road and rail infrastructure, so that families can get to work faster and home quicker. That's what this strong infrastructure investment is all about. But where Matt's real qualities are, in my view, and why he was elected today, is his passion and his zeal for reform, to set up a brighter future for the people of our great state. We saw in this year's budget, under Matt, a reform of childcare, world-leading, not just nation-leading reform, to provide and improve women's participation across our state and give women and families more choice and greater support for our children. A reform of pre-kindergarten, once again, not just nation-leading reform, but world-leading reform to provide universal preschool education for every child across our state. These are the reforms that continue and will make a massive difference for families, not just for today, but for generations to come. Home ownership, as his reform of stamp duty, providing first homeowners the choice to either pay upfront stamp duty or an annual amount. These are the imaginary ideas. This is the type of reform you want in a treasurer and the type of person you want as Deputy Leader. And finally, I'd say, like me, Matt is a father of a young family, and he gets it. In a higher inflationary environment, with interest rates rising and cost of living pressures coming to the fore, in this year's budget, Matt continued that determination to provide more cost of living support for families, families with school-aged children, because we know that hip pocket expenses and the biggest issue around dinner tables right around our state and right around our country is cost of living, job security. Matt gets that. He's a strong member of the team, and I'm very pleased as Premier of the state, as the leader of the Parliamentary Liberal Party, to have Matt as my deputy. Matt will now make a few comments and then we'll take your questions.
Thank you, Premier. I'm so humbled to have been endorsed by my colleagues to serve as the Deputy Leader of the New South Wales Liberal Party. I joined the Liberal Party almost 20 years ago, and it's because I believe in its cause and I believe in its values of individual freedom, enterprise and opportunity for every single person, regardless of their background, where they live or who they are. And those values in action are what makes this state great, what makes our country great. And I'm going to fight for them every single day. And the way we deliver those values is by building a stronger economy, because only by having a strong economy can we deliver for our communities, can we improve the lives of the citizens of this state. And recently, I worked very closely with the Premier to hand down a budget that does exactly that, supports families today by dealing with cost of living pressures, like reducing the cost of tolls, reducing people's electricity bills. But we also implemented changes that will build a brighter and more prosperous future for everyone tomorrow. Things like universal pre-kindergarten to ensure that every child has access to kindergarten in the year before they start school. This is not just about helping kids realise their dreams. It's about ensuring that they can dream bigger in the first place. That is Liberal values in action. Affordable, accessible childcare is all about ensuring that everyone who wants to participate in our economy is able to do so. And we know these reforms will see more than 95,000 more women being able to work more hours or stay in work. That's great that's great women's policy. It's the right thing to do by our society, but it's also great economic policy because it will grow our economy by up to $17 billion every year. Ensuring that families are able to get onto the ladder of opportunity when it comes to housing through our bold stamp duty reforms. These are our values in action, making home ownership more affordable and more accessible in New South Wales. These are the things that I've fought for and worked closely with the Premier to deliver, and I will continue to fight for. My role is to support the Premier, to support the team, and make sure we collectively work to build a stronger, brighter and more prosperous future for every single person in New South Wales. And I'm honoured and proud to serve in this role.